The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. A man with leprosy came to Jesus begging him, and kneeling, he said to Jesus, "If you choose, you can make me clean." Moved with pity, Jesus stretched out his hand and touched him and said to him, "I do choose. Be made clean." Immediately the leprosy left him, and he was made clean. After sternly warning him, Jesus sent him away at once, saying to him, "See that you say nothing to anyone, but go, show yourself to the priest, and offer for your cleansing what Moses commanded as a testimony to them." But the man went out and began to proclaim it freely and to spread the word, so that Jesus could no longer go into a town openly, but stayed out in the country. And people came to Jesus from every quarter. The Gospel of the Lord. In the sacristy, we got talking about some television advertisements of years gone by, and somehow the monkey on Red Rose came up. You might remember him, Red, 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 Red Rose tea. And I thought, we've all turned into that poor monkey. We've turned almost into a Planet of the Apes. Everybody's covered up on their face, just like the poor monkey in the ad. Sacristans are probably going to kill me after Mass for that one. Today's first reading is really a sad passage from the book of Leviticus. The book of Leviticus is one of the so-called 5 books of Moses, or the books of the law. And Leviticus especially gives a lot of laws that the Levitical priests, the descendants of Levi, were required to basically be responsible for. And they're of all different natures. Some of them are worship laws, some of them are dietary laws, and some of them are health-based laws. And today we see one of the health-based laws. When someone on the skin of their body has a swelling or an eruption or a spot, and it turns into a leprous disease of the skin on their body, and that person then shall be brought to Aaron the priest, or to one of his sons and descendants, the priests. Now, in ancient times, they didn't know what all skin diseases were, but they knew that there was a horrible skin disease. Today we call it loosely leprosy, more technically Hansen's disease. And they knew that that disease could cause so much trouble for someone, and they were terrified of it, and they were terrified of its spreading. And so once a priest who was the most qualified person in the community had decided that this was at least even suspicious of being leprosy, although maybe it was only poor skin, or maybe it was just scaly skin, or any number of eczema. They didn't know the difference, and they were terrified. So what they would do is force them to leave their homes, force them to leave their families, force them to leave their community. They were not to look like everyone else. They were to wear torn clothes, almost as if the torn clothing would be symbolic of the torn relationship between them and the rest of the community. Their hair was to be disheveled. They were even to cover their upper lip. Interesting. Cover your mouth, is what they were saying. And if they happened to come near anyone, they would cry out, unclean, unclean. What a horrible thing to have to do. And that person is to remain unclean as long as the disease persists. And being unclean, such a one shall live alone with their dwelling outside the camp. You can see why people were so terrified of this disease. Not only because what it could do to your life and your limbs, but what it also could do, and even diseases that themselves were not at all so serious, what it could do to your relationship with your family and your community. That brings us to the gospel. A man with leprosy comes up to Jesus. Right away, he's broken the law of Moses. He should be steering clear of anyone. And if by accident he comes close, covering his mouth and warning them, I am unclean. Instead, he begs him, he kneels down before Jesus. Now, Jesus has just broken the law too, because he's letting a leper come close to him. That was forbidden as well. He says with a great faith, if you choose, you can make me clean. And Jesus, the expression moved with pity. The Greek is talking about almost a movement of his innards. Shuddering in his innards with pity, he stretches out his hand. Again, Jesus broke the law, and he touches him. A third time, breaking the law of Moses. And he says, I do choose. Be made clean. And immediately, the leprosy leaves him, and he is made clean. And then Jesus respects the law of Moses now that the man has been healed. Don't tell anyone to anyone, but go immediately to the priests. Show yourselves to them and offer the offering that Moses commanded for your cleansing as his testimony to them. That also had the purpose of reconciling him, allowing him to come back into the camp, to come back into the community, to come back with his family once the priests had certified him to be cleansed of this leprous disease. But, as so often happens, the man goes out and he tells everybody about it, and quite understandably, his life has been redeemed by this gift of Jesus. He spreads the word so Jesus cannot go into any town openly, but has to stay out in the country. And still the people come to him from every quarter.